You know, when I was little, my mother used to say some things to me. Some of them I can't repeat in public. But anyway, um, one of the things she used to say to me that used to shake me to my very core, originally because I really didn't understand. Because when you're young, you deal in absolutes. My mother, you're supposed to love me. But she used to say to me, she said, "Son, you know what? I love you because I had you. You're my son. But I don't love the things you do." And I guess I was probably in my late 20s, early 30s when I actually became a parent myself. That I actually had a conceptual conceptual grasp of what she was saying. Now, yesterday was November the 11th, 2023. Uh, Another day on the calendar for some people. But for Americans, especially those that have served, it was Veterans Day. Now, veterans, we have 2 days that are really centered around American service people, and that's Memorial Day, and that's the Day of the Dead for the United States military. This is where we, commemorate and memorialize and I guess in some ways celebrate the people that gave their lives in the service of their country. Veterans Day, and a lot of people don't know the difference between Veterans Day and Memorial Day. Veterans Day is for the living, the ones that went in, put their time in, got discharged, basically, hopefully, an honorable discharge, for whatever reason. Whether it was they retired or they did their time or, they came out due to an injury or whatever. They served. And this is what Veterans Day is about. Giving accolades to the people that served and are still alive. Of course, when you do that, it automatically establishes its own system of priority. People that served in World War One, World War Two, which is very few. I don't think there's hardly any World War One. I don't think there's any World War One vets left. There's very few World War Two vets left. But these are the two big wars that get all of the space, the paper, in a good light. Then we walked around and effed around and got involved in Korea. Korea is like 50-50. It was probably perhaps the first L that the United States took, but because we settled it, at the peace table and not, with a massive surrender, we'll just call it a draw. Then we moved on, but it was also the first war where the American citizenry started giving the government a whole lot of open crap, where the American public couldn't fall behind the war in the majority or in or you couldn't silence the minority. That is, there was anti-World War One people and there was anti-World War Two people, but as a nation, especially in World War Two after the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, people were behind the war. World War One, it was a matter of our friends and allies in Europe trying to be overrun by German aggression. Now, those two wars had a successful outcome, and America hyped its participation in the wars to its fullest. And it helped elevate America to the status of the leader of the free world. And, the words are cheap, but sometimes they hold a lot of significance, especially when you consider that the competition for the leader of the free world, America has been a country less than 250 years, and we're competing against countries that at one time owned America, had colonies in America, thought that they were going to be the founders of America or believed that they were founders of America. Now, rolling around to November 11th, 2023, veterans are not a monolith. They don't all think alike. They don't all act alike. There's veterans that swear that they will never go to war again, that preach against war, that tell everybody that's even thinking about joining the military, don't do it. There are veterans that are so died in the war against the military, they don't even use their veterans benefits because they don't want to be, they want to cut all ties to anything that is even remotely related to the military. Then there's the hypocrites that say they're pacifists, but they go and get their shots at the VA, on a regular basis. But this is human nature. But the point I'm trying to bring out right now is that every vet served in the military, every vet, when they signed on that dotted line and raised their right hand, regardless of whatever position they were going to get involved in the military, it was a volunteer action, and when they signed on the bottom line, they had no expectation that that signature wouldn't require them to give their life in the service of their country. You can sign on as an infantry person, you can sign on as a pilot, a cook, a yeoman, a corpsman, but the military is still all about combat. The military is still about hazardous situations. Even in peacetime, young men and women put their lives in harm's way every day in service to this country. But the military, as important as it is, as necessary as it is, as influential and as essential as it has been to United States history and the development of the status that the United States enjoys in international standing right now, the military unquestionably has been its biggest attribute and maybe even its biggest detractor at the same time. You can have all the international diplomacy, you can get into all the geopolitical hoopla that you want, but if you don't have a military that is capable of either promoting your hoopla or protecting you from everybody else's hoopla, you don't exist as an influential country very long. You no longer become part of the movers and shakers. You become basically a third world nation, basically struggling to exist every day, waiting to see who is the next big bunny coming along to invade your hole. Now, the veterans in the United States right now, because the United States we suffer under, a lot of labels, some that we gave ourselves, some that were given to us, some that may have some semblance of truth, and some that are completely false. But this thing about American democracy being the melting pot of the world, whether we like it or not, it's closer to being true than it is to being a fallacy. And maybe that's why a certain faction of the American politicians that, promote certain people being in charge all the time over everything and getting the largest chunk of it. Well, actually getting everything and then letting the crumbs fall back down to the rest of the public. It's, it could be a monarchy, it could be some radical form of government, but it's an idea basically that falls under the qualifications of being fascism. And that's what we're facing right now. Fascists, they are a minority, but fascists specialize in minority rule. That's why they can't stand of democracy, because democracy is based on majority rule. Now, you can't deny the fact that in a democracy, minority factions have done everything to rig stuff like gerrymandering, the Supreme Court, to put themselves in the majority in important decision making organizations or government offices. That's why the local political scene has become so chaotic, because of ultra right wing conservatives trying to take over all of the important county administration offices, school board, county supervisors, even election board, governor's office, state assemblies. They know that they are not the majority, but if they control the power, who gives a shit whether they're the majority? Power is what rules. Power is what makes the laws. Power is who determines what gets taught in our school. Power is what determines what we can watch on TV. And in the land of the free, power should not be involved in our individual lives to the extent that they can tell us whether we can or cannot have a baby, or if we should or should not have a baby. Now, these are the situational ideals that the American service member has to deal with, even though they are put into a biosphere where none of the constitutional arguments even apply, because in order to make the military function, the individual has to reduce themselves for the good of the unit. Unit function, unit tactics, unit efficiency is what is preached in every branch of the military. And that's what it's all about. How good making yourself as good as you can be so that you can contribute the best to the unit that's going to be the best. This is what American veterans have had to deal with. This is why, well, I'm not going to say now, but previously, when the job market made a little bit of sense, veterans were highly sought after because, one, they needed less training, and two, they were more into the leadership by seniority, leadership by position, and they were more into meritorious promotion than the average citizen that came out of the street, that today is just used to everything being handed to them, according to some individuals. But with all of this and all of the sacrifices, not maybe your life, probably your family, probably your personal opinions, probably some of your personal plans and desires, maybe even until you end your service with the military. These are the things that American veterans face today, and these are the things that get no attention, and these are the things that really cause the American veteran, or actually the American active duty service member, to think twice when you have some elected official standing on public TV talking to some rich cat that has never ever even considered joining the military for any reason, patriotic, heroic ideals or whatever. All they've ever thought about is how much money I can make by the close of business today. And these people are calling the people that are going out and volunteering, not being drafted, not being brought in under, fear of legal consequence. These are the people that on public media call American service members losers. You shouldn't volunteer because they're all losers. The military is woke. The military is anti-American, but the military is the reason we have America. The military is the reason that America has the status that it has. Whether you think it's effective or efficient or whatever, there are countries that actually still fear the United States military. They do not want to go against the United States military head to head. That's why we have all these little proxy wars where, some country invades some country and America sends financial and military aid. Ukraine, Israel. But see, the difference between Ukraine and Israel as far as the American veteran or the active duty service member is this. America has always been anti-bully, even though we have been the bully on many occasions. But we always, rectify that or sanctify it by saying that, God is on our side. It's okay to beat up on these little ignorant fucks because God is on our side. Now, as a veteran, I'm proud of the service I did. I'm proud of my individual achievements. I'm proud of the time that I put in. I know what I lost being in the Navy. I know what I did good being in the Navy. I know what growth I made as an individual during the time I was in the Navy. And I appreciate all of that. I appreciate my veterans benefits to the extent that they are now. They could be better. But it's not the nightmare that it used to be, but it's not the nightmare that a lot of people want to make it appear to be. But there's also, you can't do anything as a veteran without being forced to acknowledge the fact that the government, the people that administrate these things, the people that determine how much money goes to these things, the people that determine who's going to run these organizations, they are just as effed up as Hogan's goat because it's all political. It's political appointments. It's political. The whole veteran scene has become a political football to be bandied back and forth to see who can draw the most support out of those that have served their country. It just amazes me that the same people that talk about going into war in all of these places, all these different places, at the same time, are unaware that our military, no matter how mighty it may be on paper or how mighty it may be in reality, is terribly undermanned or lacks personnel. These are the same people that they want to spend billions on new technology, and new technology is needed. But they don't want to spend hardly anything on the human element. Service people have families. They don't want to spend anything on dependent housing. At one time the military took care of dependents on base with, base medical, with service medical. They want to outsource all of that to private in town. But yet and still, when people want to avail themselves of, let's say, reproductive care, they don't want to have the government, not the government, individuals that represent a certain form of thinking just because they can't hold up the promotions of the top people in across the board in all the branches of the military. But yet and still, these are the people that still want to go to war. They want people of different ethnic backgrounds to volunteer to go serve, but they don't want to give their history in this country any recognition because they say acknowledging their history in the way that it should be acknowledged is divisive to the welfare of the country. It separates the country. But yet still you want these people to sign up and wait around to go and die or get maimed at your beck and call. And I don't understand why politicians in the United States got into their head that they're the ones that are supposed to run the war. Fund the war, make sure that the money is there to fight after you declare the war. Yeah, that's your job. Keep the country together, keep the people behind the military while the war is being fought. That's your job. Keep the economy going while the military is draining the life out of the American economy. You prove that with Vietnam. That's your job. Providing an existence for people that are shattered by war or that have contributed to the overall well-being of this country by going to war or serving in the military under the threat of war. That's your job. But turning around and calling those very same people losers because they will not participate, which they're not supposed to participate because the military is apolitical. In other words, they don't go left, they don't go right, they just go when they're told to. But downing those people just because they're doing their job and they won't participate in all your silly performance art politics, they won't give up on trying to make the military as status as a center of equality based on real merit. They won't participate in your draconian views on women's rights and the right to control their own bodies, especially when it comes to reproduction. That is insanity. That is just a slap in the face. When you tell grown people that pick up weapons on a daily basis that all they do is either train to directly kill or to support those that do kill, whether it's logistically or through technology or whatever. The people that wear the uniforms that make them a target not only overseas but in their own country, you tell them that they are losers? When you can't even get things accomplished that will keep the country going so that they can get paid to stay in those places, that the only intent of some of the people in those places is to kill them. The military, the vets, they're not the losers. The people that serve for whatever reason they serve, they just deserve a little appreciation, honest appreciation for serving. They deserve some medical care, good, honest medical care. Cheap drugs. Retirees, If you do your 20, 25 years, you're pretty well good taken care of, except you got to deal with all the battles between, the insurance part and all that. People that, got out with less than retirement time, yeah, it's a little bit more of a battle, but, it's a workable system, but it's still not the system that it could be. Active duty military, it's the same battle that it has been forever. Hurry up and wait. Be here, be there. And then one of those days they're going to say, okay, away you go. And the people that are waving bye-bye, all the, Congress people, they're saying, it's going to be over quick and we hope for a happy return. When in the back of their mind they're going, you suckers, you ain't coming back. But my oil stocks are going up. But my rubber stocks are going up. But after we put an occupation force in Chad, I can tell my son who's on the board of Coca-Cola, hey, Chad might be, a little receptive to a new Coke plant in Chad. Whatever. But the military and politics are inseparable bedfellows. But in this nationwide, nations-old relationship, politics, government has always been the one on top. And no matter how you look at it, veterans and active duty military have been, and probably out of necessity, will always be the one, even though, you're the ones on the front line, you're the ones making the biggest sacrifice, the ultimate sacrifice. You're the ones that will always have to bend over and take it. Well, I know that's a lot of things to meditate on. That's a lot of things to rectify in your own mind, because it took me a long time to really come to peace with myself over how I feel about the government and how I feel about the military. And bottom line is, the military is necessary, it's required, but how they get treated is all up to the government that we elect. So if you don't want to see your vets and your military mistreated, stop electing the idiots that are openly disrespecting, denigrating, and using veterans and active duty military as a political football to accomplish their whacked out ideals of how things should be. Well, that's it. Peace out. God bless. See you when I see you, from Uncle Ricky at Uncle Ricky's house.